I'm Janice Stevenson, and this is Bethel Today. This is the TV show sponsored by the Bethel Democratic Town Committee. Today we're talking with Tim Holian. He is the candidate for probate judge for the Northern Fairfield District Probate Court. I'm looking at Tim because we were just going through, could I get this out, and I don't think I got it right. We're going to talk a little bit about Tim's background. He's going to tell us the correct name of the district, exactly what that district encompasses, and also just talk a little bit about some of the responsibilities involved and his approach to this. Hi Tim, thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Janice.
It's great to have you here.
It's the Northern Fairfield County Probate District, and it includes the towns of Bethel, Newtown, Reading, and Ridgefield.
And this is new, isn't it?
Brand new, brand new. It will take effect in January of 2011, January 5th of 2011.
Okay. So talk to me about a little bit about what has been the probate court process in Connecticut, and maybe a little bit about why it's changing, and then we'll circle back and talk about why you ought to have this job.
Okay. Historically, probate courts, for the most part in Connecticut, each town has had their own. Some towns were obviously too small to do that. There were, I believe, 117 probate courts in Connecticut, and we are going to have 54. The consolidation was worked on last summer or last year, and the primary reason for doing it ostensibly was fiscal considerations. It was felt that some probate courts weren't performing as well as others. Whether that's in fact true or not, I don't know. But the governor and the legislature felt that it would serve them well, I would think, to show that they were trying to save money, and the probate court system was one of the some of the courts in the probate court system were the casualties.
Sure.
Like I say, there are 54 probate courts now as of January 5th, 2011. Our district is going to be the 11th largest probate district.
Now tell me, because you mentioned this before we got started, before we were filming, you told me what the ones were that are larger. It was kind of amazing to hear.
When you consider that we're the 11th largest, you have to, that includes obviously the larger cities, Stamford, Hartford, New Britain, Waterbury, New Haven. When you go through the pecking order, you realize that we are probably the largest of the rural probate courts.
Right.
So
right. Wow. So it's a big job.
It will have 78,000 people, and that's my perception. It will be a large job, a full-time job.
A full-time job. So let's talk a little bit about your background. You're from Newtown.
Yes, I am. I'm a lifelong resident of Newtown. I've been a sole practitioner of law in Newtown for 27 years. I didn't think it was that long, but 27 years, and the emphasis of my practice has always been on probate matters. So I think I bring a good skill set to the job. What else do you need to know about it?
I think that covers it at this point. I think the next thing I would want to know then, because I don't know that much about the whole probate court, because I was really astonished to see that there's actually a fairly wide variety of things that are handled through a probate court. So talk a little bit about what those things are.
The probate court is a court of, it's called a court of limited jurisdiction. Its jurisdiction is born from whatever the legislature says the probate court can handle. That's how its jurisdiction is determined. Most people are familiar with the probate court being the forum in which decedents' estates and trusts are handled. That's how most people come to visit the probate court. Most people are not aware of the fact that the probate court deals with a number of issues, most of them sensitive family issues. Historically, the probate court has been known as Connecticut's family court, and it's really the forum where you deal with life's difficulties. For example, it's in the probate court where you have a conservator appointed for an aging or infirm parent who has Alzheimer's disease or something along those lines. It's the probate court where you secure a commitment for somebody who needs specialized treatment in a specialized facility.
Psychiatric.
Psychiatric.
Typically.
It's or for substance abuse.
Okay.
Probate court is also the place where guardians are appointed for the mentally infirm or disabled. Let's see. Regrettably, the probate court, and this is one of the more difficult things it has to do, can terminate parental rights for those who, for whatever reason, aren't taking care of their children. The happy flip side of the coin is it's the probate court where you can go to secure an adoption for that child. So,
interesting. So there actually can potentially be, depending on your location, a fair amount of contact with, like, Department of Families and Children and that kind of thing as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I had no idea that that was actually handled through the probate courts.
Most people don't. Most people don't. And as during this campaign season, when I've gone door to door, I'm no longer surprised that people don't understand that the court has that broad function.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So, 4 towns. Right? So you're from Newtown.
From Newtown.
I'm from Bethel, so obviously it affects Bethel.
Yes.
And the other 2 towns are Reading and Ridgefield.
Reading and
correct?
Ridgefield, yes.
Okay. And one of the things that's happening here is that the court is actually going to be housed in Bethel.
Yes, it is.
Can you talk a little bit about how it was that Bethel was selected for that?
The probate court consolidation process didn't really include a determination on the part of the legislature as to where the court should be. Senator Godfrey from Danbury, chaired that committee, and I don't think they wanted to visit that issue, so they left it up to the municipalities, right. and basically the 4 selectmen from the various towns met several months ago and decided that, I think because of its central location, that Bethel would be the best location for the facility. There is some confusion out there in that some people believe that we're consolidating facilities under one roof, and that there would be 4 judges handling the same 4 judges handling the probate court matters for all 4 towns. That, of course, is not in fact the case. There will be a single judge handling the work for 78,000 people.
Just kind of for comparison, how many people were under the jurisdiction? I'm going to ask you about Newtown just because I'm sure you're going to know that a little bit better than you would about Bethel. Is it basically the population?
It's the population, yeah.
Okay, so for in Bethel it would have been somewhere about 12,000 people would have been the responsibility of the probate judge that was in Bethel.
I think it's a little larger. I think Bethel's around 19,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's Newtown is around 27,000.
Yeah.
Ridgefield's a little bit smaller, but very close in size to Newtown, about 26,000. And the smallest of the 4 towns is Reading, of course, which is a little more than 9,000 people, I think.
So at this point in time, individuals who are serving currently as the probate judges for the individual towns do not function purely as the probate judge. Is that correct? That they also typically are doing something else, and they don't necessarily have to be attorneys. That's something else that's changing, right? That.
Yeah. Historically, most attorneys who are probate judges continue their law practices. They have that option. There's no prescription for continuing your law practice. I just don't think it's advisable in a district this size, particularly one where the growing pains of consolidating 4 courts under one roof and 4 staffs under one roof and consolidating the files and all of that sort of thing is just going to be a logistical nightmare that's going to require an awful lot of time.
Sure.
And I think the second part of your question is until probate court reorganization or redistricting, you did not have to be an attorney to be a probate court judge. which was fine. Historically, we've had very good non-attorney probate judges. I don't think the future is going to indicate that that's possible.
Right.
So I just think the volume of the work and the complexity of issues that are coming before the probate court now require a legal background.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a question that I have, actually, when you were talking about what we do know most about probate, which is the dealing with wills, et cetera. So anytime that anybody passes on and they have to go through the whole thing with the will, that's always handled through the probate court, there's always involvement?
Yes, that's
Okay.
that's the court of what we call original jurisdiction for decedents' estates. Is anything dealing with testamentary transfers is the probate court, and even if.
So what are testamentary transfers?
Transfers as a result of somebody.
So it would be like property, like a house would go from one person's name to another, that sort of thing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there is a will. The will dictates obviously where property
Sure.
passes, and if there isn't a will, there are a litany of Connecticut general statutes dealing with what we call intestate succession.
Sure. Sure.
It's of course, and the probate court is the vehicle through which all of that is determined.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, because you need to know, you watching, that Tim and I were talking about that this is not necessarily the most exciting topic known to mankind. However, so in the state of Connecticut, if you have one of those high-profile things about somebody's estate being strong-armed away from them, would that be handled through the probate courts?
Initially it would.
So that would be the initial location, then it would probably end
That's
up...
the original jurisdiction.
Original.
That's where the initial case or controversy comes before a court. The first step is in the probate court.
And then from there, it might have to pass out to...
The probate judge will make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
If people feel the need to do so, their first appeal is to the Superior Court.
Okay. Okay.
And then it works its way through the process.
Interesting. So you've been going door to door. You've been actually out there pounding the pavement?
Yeah, I have, and I enjoy that. I do. Most of my door-to-door activity has been in Bethel, if for no other reason. Bethel has pockets of population that lend themselves to canvassing.
Right.
Reading is very difficult to canvass because I find myself either walking on a major highway looking for driveways, or I think I indicated before, being in a situation where I feel I have to leave breadcrumbs behind me to find my way out. It's very rural and it's very rustic, and it's a lot of fun, but it doesn't lend itself well to canvassing. So.
And you're real well known already in Newtown. I'm assuming that's...
Yeah, I've been politically active in Newtown. I served on the Legislative Council for 10 years. I was its vice chairman for 6 of those years. I'm presently a member of the Newtown Volunteer Ambulance Association board. They tell me that I served on the Conservation Commission once, but I honestly can't remember. It's just too far back. But but that's part of my resume as well.
Of course you remember it.
Of course I remember it, yes. So I'm well known in Newtown, and hopefully I'll be well supported.
Are you getting any kind of a sense of sort of a different personality from the different towns at all?
I am amazed at how territorial people are about their probate judges.
Yeah.
Just, going door to door in Bethel, I would say every third door, I get the "What happened to Dan O'Grady" inquiry, and I find myself apologizing to the people saying I had nothing to do with that,
right,
and reminding them that I know who did. So, that's but it's remarkable that for a court that most people are unfamiliar with, the thought that they've lost one of their own is frustrating to them.
I'm sure.
That's been the biggest surprise.
Interesting. And have you been able to get out and do door-to-door work in Ridgefield as well, or?
The Ridgefield Democratic Town Committee has been canvassing for me over there. So and they've been very helpful. All the DTCs have just been great, and they've been a lot of fun, and they've been very supportive. And it's hard for them too. I'm not well known in their
Sure.
in their midst, and they've adopted me, and it's nice to have those places of familiarity that I can visit and
Yeah, I'm sure.
and feel welcome.
Yeah.
Because it's this is something I don't think that probate court administration had in mind, was subjecting probate judge candidates to campaigning in 4 towns. We're not professional politicians. We're not
Right.
staffed to do it. They don't let us solicit funds. So.
Well, I thought it was actually interesting that it is an elected position, and and you said that traditionally it always has been.
Historically, my understanding is the legislature felt that because the probate court dealt with sensitive family issues, nobody knew the sensitive issues involving their families in their towns more than a local resident.
Right.
So the theory was we'll have each municipality or a collection of smaller municipalities elect their own. Whether the reason for doing that will exist now that the districts are much larger, I don't
Sure.
know if that will continue. But,
And you mentioned that, so we have about 78,000, you said, in this district that's forming.
that was as of 2007. I think we have a little more.
So it may even be
Yeah,
higher than that now. And there are some that you said are down maybe around 45,000, so significantly smaller
The
still.
smaller districts are, if you look at the redistricting map and the list of districts, some are in the 40s. I don't think there are many. They're in the mid to high 40s. I think their
Sure.
target was the 50,000 population.
Where are those? And because what I'm wondering is, just from my perspective, putting Newtown into the mix, there's a huge geographic area in Newtown, and
Yeah.
I'm wondering where you've got some of these smaller ones. Is it like up in like northwestern Connecticut where it's just?
I'd have to look at the
Yeah.
map. I wouldn't be able to. I could guess, but I think I'd be guessing precisely. So, but I did.
But you can say I'm guessing, but I think that
Yeah.
maybe.
No, the numbers I got when I figured out that we were in fact the 11th largest, as I saw a lot of 45 and 47,000 populations, and in those courts it might not be difficult to maintain an active law practice, but when you're in the 80,000 population,
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot.
of people.
Is your opponent talking about doing full-time, or is that something that you've really identified and you've done that up
That's my
front?
issue. I've identified it as I'm the only one who's come out from the outset and said I will serve as your full-time judge, and I've admitted that I can't see how I could do either job effectively if I
Correct.
did both.
Sure,
So,
sure. So it's making sure that you serve all the people better.
I'm removing the canons of judicial conduct dictate that if you're a probate judge, you're not supposed to let anything interfere with your probate duties. So I'm removing that variable, the possibility that my practice will interfere from the outset. I'm not even going to have to consider it going forward.
So what made you decide to sort of switch position? What got you into this race when this change came down?
It's something I've been interested in doing for about 6 or 7 years now. It became realistic when Newtown's probate judge at the time, Margot Hall, approached the age of 70, which is mandatory retirement for judges, and I thought maybe I might be able to
Just
do what initially I wanted to do, was to become Newtown's probate judge. But while that was going on, this upheaval happened, and Newtown's probate judge is no longer. It's a regional probate judge.
So when you first started looking at it, it was more of the smaller town, so it would have been more viable to think that you could maintain some amount of legal practice on the side, as
Absolutely.
it were.
As the district became bigger, I realized that I could not properly do both jobs, and this is the one I've chosen. A friend of mine a while back said, when I told him I was running to be probate judge, he said, well, finally a round peg for a round hole, because I've been doing this for so long, and I enjoy it. For me, it's a career change without having to give up the skill set that I've developed
Sure.
over 27 years. I didn't want to throw that out.
No, absolutely not.
And like I say, I have the level of experience
Right.
necessary to bring a good skill set to the job. I've seen what goes on in the probate court just from the other side of the bench.
Sure.
That's not a long walk.
No,
So,
no, not at all. Sounds like it's actually a good
It's,
transition.
yeah, yeah.
It would be a good way to go. That's neat stuff. See? All right, so
Exciting,
it's
no.
not exciting, though. Neat.
Not exciting. There's no way you can make this exciting.
Oh, I don't know. I think that if you did one of those, from Bulow cases, that that could be really exciting, but
Exciting, yeah.
not
yeah.
probably much fun for the probate judge in that case. I
Yeah,
would
they
imagine.
might find me more dull than. I would not be press friendly in those cases. That would
I'm
be true.
sure not.
So,
I'm sure not.
so.
So is there actually, this is kind of a stupid question, but I've actually gone in, I've done jury duty in Danbury, so I'm familiar with, the more criminal court facilities. Do you actually have like a courtroom? Will there be a courtroom then that's going to be in Bethel? Has there been one that I never knew about?
Whether there's a courtroom or not is going to be up to Bethel because
Okay.
they're designing the facility, and my focus right now is getting
the job,
elected, and,
right.
and I'll worry about where they want me to serve later.
Do you wear
Have
a
there been
black robe
courtroom?
with gold on the
There are no robes involved in the probate court.
So you don't get to do like Rehnquist with
no.
all the extra
No.
nonsense.
But the court itself, most probate courts, the only one that I'm aware of that really has its own courtroom, I think, is Bridgeport. But most probate courts that I've been in, and I've been in a lot of them, very informal. Sometimes hearings are conducted in the judge's chambers. In Newtown, we used what was called the Mary Hawley Room, which was a meeting room in the Edmond Town Hall for the hearings. If you need a larger facility, you can find one. There's always a conference room somewhere.
Right.
But the key to the probate court, I've always felt, is it has to be user-friendly because the people who are there have already been beat up. They've
Right.
lost a loved one. They're dealing with a sick parent. They're dealing with a child having substance abuse difficulties,
Sure.
anything there. And if you have the trappings of the formality of the Superior Court, that tends to scare people who are
Exactly.
already uncomfortable. So,
Sure.
So I'm hoping that whatever they decide to do in Bethel,
That
it
it's
has
actually
that
fairly
softer edge
low-key.
to it.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It does. Well, we've done this.
We have?
We've almost hit the end, and I'm actually going to start talking about some things like the fact that you were a Democrat and you were on row B with the other Democrats. And
Yes, yeah,
So,
yeah,
part of
yeah.
having everybody come on the show over the past couple of months has been to make sure that people in Bethel and also Ridgefield and I think Reading to some degree get an opportunity to see this show so that they know who you are, so that they know who they're voting for, and that they will vote for you because you have made this decision, the considered decision, and I think
is,
it's I think it shows some real interest and concern to look at it and realize that there's no way to continue to do both, that it's got to be, if you're going to do this, you're really going to do it and do it full time.
I appreciate the chance to relay that message. Thank you.
Good, good. So I want to talk a little bit to the audience about the fact that we are 1 week and 1 day from the election. So it is critical that every Democrat get out and vote. We need your support. You need to vote for Tim, you need to vote for Dan Malloy, you need to vote for Richard Blumenthal, you need to vote for Chris Murphy, Alice Hutchinson, Jason Bartlett, John Hartwell. I'm hitting the high points here, particularly for Bethel. On Tuesday the 2nd, the polls will open in Bethel at 6 a.m. They'll be open until 8 p.m. I believe that's actually statewide. In addition, if you will not be in town on the 2nd, you can still vote. You need to go to the town clerk's office, that's in the Municipal Center in Bethel, and you can go between 8:30 and 4:30 Monday through Friday. And this coming Saturday, they will also be open with absentee ballots from 9 o'clock in the morning until noon. So if you will not be in Bethel on the 2nd, go and make sure that you vote absentee.
That's really critical. The Democratic Party of Bethel, we have headquarters downtown near O'Neill's. If you want to assist, you can do that for us. We will be in headquarters all day on the 2nd. We will need people to make phone calls. We may need people to run errands for us that day. If you'd like to get involved, I invite you to come and do that. While I'm thinking about it, actually, what I was saying brought to mind websites, and I just want to point out too that if you'd like to know a little bit more about the probate court and a little bit more about Tim's background, you can check that out at www.timothyholian.com, and it has information about his background, information about the probate court, information about why he's the correct choice for that role. And actually, I just want to mention one other position that I know is on the ballot for Bethel this year, and that is the Registrar of Voters. And we can't forget Mary O'Leary because she is a champion for us all. Anything else you'd like to add, Tim, before we wrap it up?
No, I just appreciate you having me, and it's a first for me. I don't often appear on television, but what an easy way to reach the public.
We'll have to have you come back and do it again once you really get started and kind of see how it works.
Tell you what we're doing in the probate court.
Because I think actually one of the things that was interesting, we're going to have to wrap it up real quick here, is that one of the people who's on staff for the show was concerned because records that he thought would be local are being relocated, and that has to do with some of the different things that happen with probate and the way that everything is being restructured in the state. So I think that would be, it would be cool to have you back and talk about how it's really going, and maybe it'll be more exciting then.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. This is Bethel Today. I'm Janice Stevenson. Again, this is the television show of the Bethel Democratic Town Committee. And not to hound you about it too much, but vote. Vote on Tuesday. Vote for the Democrats. That's row B, top to bottom. Thank you very much. Good night.